but there's not a lot of girls who actually talk about what it's like to live with the voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, you need to be skinnier, you're disgusting, just all those things. And so I think just being really open about that and tying in my faith too just really attracted people for whatever reasons.
Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, really appreciate it. This week's speak with Tori Peyton. Now, Tori Peyton, I guess you could call her a social media influencer. I've spoken to plenty of those in the past when it comes to, travel influencing and fitness and all these different kind of things. I think, I guess being present online and posting and reels and photos and stuff like that and gaining a following, I guess makes you an influencer these days. But that was certainly my word, not the one she's using. But her, I guess what she's influencing, again, makes it even stranger to use that word, but what she's influencing is the world of mental health. She's somebody who has dealt with different mental health issues in the past, things that I think is always a lifelong thing to deal with. And she's somebody who wanted to take what she's dealt with and help others. So she posts, whether it's inspirational things, whether it's things just to help people get through some of the setbacks and struggles that they're having. Her page is pretty much all about the world of mental health. She's dealt with several different issues, so she's able to post about quite a few different things, and she'll mention what some of those are. So we're going to talk about just mental health as a whole. We're going to talk about social media influencing. We're going to talk about how those kind of meet. The world of being a social media influencer is a little tough sometimes. You get mean comments and you get people just saying silly stuff. And then obviously when a page is about mental health, kind of makes it even harder. So we're going to talk about how she deals with those type of things. I talk about how she gets the inspiration to post the things that she does. We're going to talk just about her life as a whole. This is a good conversation. I really think you're going to enjoy this one. If you haven't already listened in the past, urge you to leave that 5-star review and rating on Apple and Spotify. Leave a written review on both. That helps a ton. Go follow along on Instagram, on TikTok, Not Enough Podcast, Facebook, Not Enough with Jackson F. Really appreciate that. But without further ado, here is Tori Peyton. Tori, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thanks for agreeing to join me. Hardest question of the day. Just introduce yourself.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Tori Peyton. I am 27 years old. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, I basically worked in tech following getting out of college in 2021 for like 4 years. And then after having a mental breakdown on my bathroom floor and going to mental health treatment, I decided to kind of commit my life to mental health advocacy. And I have been strong in recovery from an eating disorder and OCD and depression for a few years now. I'm now going back to get my master's in social work because I want to do nonprofit work and advocacy work. And yeah, I run Grow with Tori, an Instagram account too, where I just try to create a safe space for people struggling with mental health.
I think that's all fantastic. I want to unpack most of that, and I want to kind of start with, obviously, you just kind of mentioned why maybe mental health is important to you just because of your own journey. But when did you decide to kind of put that in the social media world? When did you decide to start that Grow with Tori, and why did you do that?
Yeah, so it's so funny because now Grow with Tori is so different than how it started. I had started it as a small, just personal diary eating disorder recovery page. So this was back in May of 2023. And I just wanted to encourage anyone basically who was going through eating disorder recovery because I didn't even know the language. I didn't know what to expect on the journey. I was hoping that people would give me advice. Maybe I would give them advice and we would create this small eating disorder recovery community. Flash forward, and essentially I've kind of opened up a little bit more about the other things I've gone through. I had some sexual assault stuff when I was a kid that I went through, as well as struggling a lot with depression throughout high school and into college. And then realizing within the past year and a half that I have had OCD like my whole life and just never really dealt with it. So I've been able to open up about those things, and just slowly that platform kind of grew into the audience it is today. And because I'm a Christian, a lot of it too is faith based, like connecting with God and connecting with other people who share the same faith values that I do, which has been so cool and random. But yeah, it all started as a weird personal diary that's now come to this.
And you kind of already answered the question, but I always like when I'm talking to influencers, and I've talked to influencers in a lot of different areas, and some just say, "Hey, it was a slow progression, and I slowly built up my base, and I am where I am now." And there's sometimes people can point to a certain thing, like I made this one video, it went kind of viral, and from I doubled my subscribers from one day to the next. Was it truly just a slow progression? Do you have any kind of pivot point that you can point to of what kind of grew things, or where does that look like?
Yeah, I would say even though I am like a general mental health account, it always was those like body positivity or food freedom videos that really did attract people. I would notice I would get like, I remember two time periods in specifically where I had posted a pretty big video about like eating disorder recovery and just my journey. That grew me like to another 10K, 15K, and then another video which grew me another 10, 15K. So there have been a couple specifically, I just think around food and body stuff because girls don't talk about it in a mental health context. Like we talk about body insecurities and things like that, but there's not a lot of girls who actually talk about what it's like to live with a voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, you need to be skinnier, you're disgusting, just all those things. And so I think just being really open about that and tying in my faith too just really attracted people for whatever reason. So it's cool because like I feel like me and my audience really get each other, and it's a really niche random kind of audience that's been built, but it's been cool because I've kind of like found my people, which is nice.
Oh, that's really awesome for sure. And I want to, I guess I want to dive a little bit more into how you decided to start. Obviously, it's easy to say, "Hey, I had my own struggles, and I wanted to introduce it to other people to maybe potentially help them." But that's a lot harder said than done. Obviously, these mental health struggles are something that a lot of people, keep hidden, and your platform is actually helping people not do that, or at least work through their issues on their own. So, how did you decide, "Hey, I'm going to be able to actually share my struggles and the things that I've dealt with, and the things that I've done to make things better in my life, to then help others as well?" Because at the end of the day, it would have been a lot easier to make get ready with me Instagram influencers or something like that. So what made you decide to dive a little deeper there?
No, that I love that question. I think I've always just been pretty deeply connected to this like innate desire to help people. When I was 6 years old, told my mom I wanted to be a doctor. And that was because like that was the only career I knew that could help people at the time. Unfortunately, I was terrified of blood, so that never really happened. But I had been around this time when I was struggling with my mental health, feeling this sense of like, what is my bigger purpose in the world? Like, I really struggled with in my tech job at the time, just feeling like I'm not making a bigger impact. And what is a unique thing about me that can actually like help people? I just hadn't really found my purpose yet. So interestingly, what just started as a healing journey for me really opened up that avenue to wait, this is something different that no one really talks about, that I'm actually really randomly passionate about. And I like talking about trauma, and I like talking about hard things and being deep with people. Like it just kind of happened organically, I guess. And I love talking about these things. So it was really easy for me. And I think people just kind of saw how passionate I was about helping people, and that really came through. And so that's why I think like the platform grew as it did, and just I was able to connect with people like I did. I will also say too, like I've always just been an old soul. So like it will never be natural for me to do the get ready with me's or to do like, I have tried to film what do I do in a day? And then halfway through a day of filming, I'm like, Tori, why are you doing this? Like, this is just not you. Like, I don't want to influence you to like me. I want to influence you to like you. And that's the point of following my page. And so I just try to stay, I hate the word authentic because it's overused these days, but I do try to stay authentic as much as I can.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I ask a deep question now to ask you something that's not deep at all and pretty silly, but I always like to work in a little game to know the person I'm interviewing just a little bit better. I remove it out when I'm talking to somebody that's we're really talking about really deep stuff, but we can maybe just have the game to learn a little bit more about you, don't you think?
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
So the game that we're going to play, normally I give you an option, but we're gonna play rapid fire, generally no follow up, which is I give you 8 questions that I have my own strong opinions about that I try sometimes unsuccessfully to ask you and have no follow up. Easy questions, goofy questions, but are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, you're in a hurry. What's your go-to fast food order?
Oh my gosh, a biscuit with egg and cheese from Chick-fil-A.
You only have $3. What are you spending it on?
Honestly, a Diet Coke. Oh gosh.
All right. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
All right. Socks with sandals, is that acceptable?
No, absolutely not.
What's one, and this is a good one because you've traveled. What's one place you've never been that you'd like to go?
Ooh, Spain.
What's one app, what's the most used app on your phone?
Probably the Bible app right now.
Let's talk about music. What's one song that's always a banger? Anytime you hear it, it gets you pumped.
Okay, randomly anything by Machine Gun Kelly. Like, I love him.
I like that. On the flip side, what's one thing that you hear and you just immediately scoff and change the channel?
The like really hard, intense rock. The screamo. Oh, absolutely not.
Gotcha. What's one thing that you have that you really should be throwing out?
Honestly, I don't have anything. I really am an anti-materialism person.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. Awesome. Yeah. Let me think if I'm going. And I try to ask him quickly, so I can't say anything about him. But one thing that I remember, I have been to Spain. I recommend it. I think you'll have a great time.
Oh yeah, I really want to go to Barcelona. I feel like that would be amazing.
You're going to get me to say the thing that my listeners have heard me say 7,000 million times. But I'll tell you briefly. I was in Barcelona right when the European lockdown happened for COVID. So I was almost stuck in Barcelona for an indefinite period of time. So I like Barcelona, but I didn't want to be trapped there forever. So
that makes sense. I really stopped liking my home during COVID because I was like, I don't want to be trapped here anymore. So I get it.
I hear you for sure. Yeah. So let's kind of talk more about your content. Obviously, it's different. Like I already said, it's different than a lot of the influencers that I've spoken to that are doing fitness content or food or all these other kind of things. And we kind of dig deep normally on talking about how do they decide what they're going to post? Like what makes them, is it just trying to cater to their audience that, hey, they love this certain thing, so I'm just going to keep on doing this over and over. When it comes to mental health, it's quite a bit different, obviously. So how do you decide? And to kind of make this question just 7,000 parts for you to forget all of it, how do you set up your content? Is it something that you're like, okay, next week I'm going to do this, next week I'm going to do this? Is it just what you're feeling like at the moment, or what's that look like?
Yeah, I feel like I've tried the structure where I plan out, and every time I plan content, it just feels so inauthentic to what I'm going through that day or that moment. And so my strategy, which is not really a strategy, is basically I wake up every day. I spend my quiet time with God. I spend a couple hours connecting with myself, really reflecting on where am I at? What am I feeling passionately about today or in this moment or period of my life? And then I'll kind of just think about and like pray with God, like what are we feeling? Like do I need to share anything with someone today? Like when I say I'm connected to my faith, I'm super like if it's not God's will, I'm not trying to do it. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to love people and give them what they need. And so if I think I want to respond to something that I see that's happening in culture or the media or whatever, I'll just like really think through it and be intentional about, hey, do I want to respond to this? How would I respond to it? I think previously in the past couple of years when I was struggling more with my mental health at the beginning of my journey, it was so easy to know what content I was going to post. And now that I've been doing quite well and am full on into mental health advocacy, it's really interesting because I feel like I'm almost providing tips and advice and just commentary now versus my own lived experience. So I will say there is that like difference now in my content, which is interesting. But yeah, I think for me it's just I don't want to plan it out because I don't want to ever like lose that just fun like authentic like spontaneousness that comes with posting. I'm like, okay, I wake up and I'm like, okay, what do I want to post today? What are the vibes? So, yeah, that's kind of how I approach it.
No, it's I like that a lot, and I want to ask about, I guess, kind of those around you. Again, you're posting about some very serious things, and you're really sharing yourself. So, what do those around you, whether it's a spouse or whether it's your family, how do they feel about, I guess, kind of your content?
Okay. So thank you so much for asking. I love that question. I have some members in my family that are blocked and just can't see my content just because there have been comments in the past of like, oh, I didn't love that you shared this, or I think you should do things this way. And it's like so much of what I've learned in my journey is you're never going to be able to please everybody. And everyone is going to want to put you in a box of like, I think this is what a good mental health advocate looks like and a good, Christian looks like. And for me, I really just found you have to be true to who you are and to what you believe in. And so there are some people that I think I've just had to block in my family, more like the extended family. My husband's super supportive. I usually don't post him because he does his own thing and he didn't ask to be in the spotlight, so I don't need to put him there. My dog Finn always wants to be in the spotlight, so he's constantly on my Instagram with me. And then my dad and mom, they're super supportive. I would say my dad especially, he does not have an Instagram, but he like recently created one actually to start watching my content because he started being like a special figure on my Instagram. People would be like, "Who's Alan? We love Alan, your dad. He's so nice." And so it's different for everybody, but I'll say overall, like it's super supportive. And I really stand by the whole like, do what is best for you. Like, your values, do what you need to.
Yeah, so we're talking about those who are close to you, but when you're a public person out there and you're sharing things, it always comes with, all of these random people also having their own opinions. So how do you deal with those who are just, I guess, trying to be trolls and keyboard warriors? And then also, you've got another layer again because of the content that you share. How do you deal with, well, let's do the trolls first. It's two very big things. So let's start with trolls.
Yeah, I mean, the trolls are the trolls. I'm so happy, honestly, that I've gotten to the point where I just don't care about trolls. Like, as long as I know there are always going to be negative people in the world, it kind of is almost encouraging to me if people reach out and are just like, I hate you, you suck. Like, okay, fine. I guess I'm doing the right thing. I know there always will be evil people trying to come against good people and the things that they're doing. So that doesn't bother me as much. I will say the constant, like, one thing that I do face as a mental health account is I share really sensitive topics and I'm talking about really deep things. And so I will have people constantly reporting my account or saying this person needs help. Especially I think from the Christian community that doesn't love that I promote taking medication and going to therapy and doing intense treatment and dealing with your issues. I've found some pushback from that community for sure. And so I just kind of have to navigate that as best I can and really stick with what I believe in, which is what I try to do. But yeah, it makes it difficult and frustrating sometimes for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and the other group that I wanted to mention, and I mean, I think this is just the role of somebody that's in the mental health space. You're talking about going and getting a master's degree in that world. So I'm sure you're learning how to, I guess, compartmentalize or those type of things. But how do you deal with those who, I guess, at the end of the day, you're truly helping so much that they want to share their story with you? That's kind of tough. I mean, you talk about how you're in a really good mental health space. How do you deal with opening up your comments and sometimes people sharing a they're something they're struggling with that for the average person that isn't in the mental health world could kind of bring you down? I mean, I guess for a lack of a better way to say it.
No, that's such a good question. I think earlier on in having my account, I really wanted to help everyone. So I was spending like hours a day responding to DMs, really trying to give people advice, trying to do everything that I could because I had promised myself when I was in such a low position that I would be doing the absolute most to try to help other people. And what I noticed was it was really taking from me. I wasn't able to show up in my everyday life or on social media as the best version of myself whatsoever because I was so just drowned out by helping everyone. And you get a lot of hate when you don't, answer people's DMs or respond to them. But I've really had to just limit like how many people I interact with on a personal level. I'll have a few DMs or a few people that I've connected with over social media that I'll turn into one-on-one mentorships with people where I'm just like volunteering and trying to give them advice and things like that. So I do that to just make sure that I'm reaching people and I'm helping people, but I do have to just kind of protect my peace in a sense of like I can't have every single person trauma dumping on me because it can just be so overwhelming for me and then I can't do my job well. And so I think it is just finding that balance for you. And it took me like a few years to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about those two areas and potential trolls, and you mentioned it even without me talking about it, but just the potential for anytime that you bring religion into anything, it does create an extra layer for sure. And that's from people who are very religious, who maybe don't see it the same way as you do. And then there's people that aren't religious at all that don't want that mixed in. So because I know faith plays a big part in your life and then also, your content. So how do you balance all of that?
I'm honestly still trying to figure that out because I really feel like I never want to put myself in a box. So I don't just want to help like the Christian mental health community. That never was my intention. I think it's been really cool to be able to serve that community specifically, but I want to be able to love God and love people regardless of their background, ethnicity, gender, like anything, And so I just want to really stick true to my original intention of serving people. And so for me, it's really about as long as I can serve people and I know overall I'm doing my absolute best to just stay true to myself and stay true to the values that God's given me, like that's all I can do. And so I will say though, a lot of times where I'm getting that pushback is yes, people, saying I don't want you to talk about God or your values, but more so it's really been nice to see that people don't care about if I share my values or not. It's more of like that small, like judgmental Christian nationalist sect, to be kind of specific, that just feels more strongly about not wanting to be as open, not wanting to talk about mental health, not wanting to talk about medication and things like that. So I'm used to that, just being part of the Christian community and seeing kind of like the over spiritualization of mental health. But yeah, I try to stay, consistent with my values, and that's all I can do.
Oh, for sure. And if you've looked at all at the past people that I've spoken with a ton of people that grew up in extremely fundamentalist Christian households, sometimes in cults and things like that. And we always talk about, because obviously getting out of those type of things always includes some kind of mental health, therapy. And every time we talk about, there's a huge difference between a Christian mental health counselor and a mental health counselor who happens to be Christian. It's very,
Yeah,
very different. And
very different.
the way that they teach. So it sounds to me like, your faith, and of course you have every right to that in the way that you feel. But it sounds like when you're speaking to others, it's a tool that you use should that be helpful rather than the guiding principle.
Yeah, because I think, as a Christian, it's like we're to do things in love. And if I don't think it's loving to force my beliefs on someone else. And I also don't think it's loving to over spiritualize something when I have my own experience of seeing, yes, my faith is the foundation of my mental health journey and my personal journey and who I am as a person. And I couldn't have healed without the many resources that God gave me, which was therapy and medication and treatment and community and all of those things. So I'm just really particular about I get so cautious when people are like, let's just pray about it and let's just renew your mind with scripture, because as someone who's not just struggled a little bit with mental health, but as someone who is full on struggled with mental health disorders, I know it's not that easy. It's not that simple for most of us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And we talked about trolls. We talked about those who kind of trauma dump. We've talked about all of these things that can create issues. But when you're just stepping back and thinking about your time online and kind of putting yourself out there, what's maybe been the hardest part of it all? Whether it's something that surprised you that you didn't think would actually be difficult that turned out that way, whether it's something that you just can't quite get past. What's something that's been the most difficult about being online?
Honestly, I think the more you put yourself into a public space, even if for me it's only with 50,000 people, you just tend to care about human perception more. You become more aware of like the engagement, what people are saying, how they're responding to you, how you're being perceived. And one of my values truly is not caring what people think about me. It's knowing that God knows who I am and I know who I am, and those close to me know who I am. And so if I can just be confident in that, what other people think doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, what I found in the social media landscape is you're constantly having to navigate trends or what's in and what's out. And you can be canceled in 1 minute for one thing you say, taken out of context, or you can just get so obsessed with the likes and the approval that you almost kind of lose yourself and your whole purpose in doing things. I know over the past couple of years, I've really gone through these stretches of time where I was just like, wow, I feel like I'm missing my initial purpose. Even this morning, I was sitting down with God and I was like, he was just speaking over me like, Tori, you're meant to serve other people. Like that is why this account exists, because I was getting frustrated with the blocking with the reporting of my account and the constant, people just bothering me. And I was like, Lord, this is so frustrating. And he was like, you know what? It's also not about you. And so I think that's it. It's just turning that perception of other people and caring so much about that, just kind of flipping it on its head and being like, okay, my goal is just to serve people. It's not to care what they think about me. It's to care so much about them that I want them to think more about themselves in like a helpful way. So,
No, I think that's powerful for sure, and it's a unique and difficult place to be in, just because, just in that role of helping people with mental health and sharing that, it comes with people that are following you obviously have their own struggles and their own individual triggers. So I just wonder, how do you walk that line, and maybe that you just can't worry about it. That's all you can do. But how do you walk that line to make sure that I guess you're trying to be as open and also as delicate with other people's emotions, but at the same time being true to yourself?
yeah, I love that. So, I think typically because my lived experience is eating disorders, sexual assault, depression, and OCD/anxiety, those are the primary things I talk about, which is a lot of things. But I will say, because I'm so kind of invested in each of those individual communities, they really are very distinct communities. I know what is proper and improper to put in an eating disorder context. So I know body checks are out of the question, calories, talking about specific numbers, weight, any of those things are out of the question. Similarly, for sexual assault, providing trigger warnings, not giving specific details. I've never once given specific details about what happened to me because that can be so triggering. And then typically with, depression, it's just not as triggering of like an illness. It really is more of a communal experience, which is kind of nice to share with people. OCD, again, it's like you don't need to be sharing specific compulsions or specific things that you do or intrusive thoughts that you have. I think just knowing that it's a very doubting disease. And so someone can easily doubt themselves and kind of like build off of your experience to start doubting themselves more and more and more. And so I say that and give the specifics of each of those communities because I think it's really important to acknowledge that mental health is actually like a larger umbrella, the mental health community of several different small communities that are actually exist online that are their own like microcosms, which is really cool. But it also can make messaging across all of those different groups kind of difficult sometimes because they are so distinct.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that you expand upon things quite a bit more than just your Instagram page. And I know that you've got a podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I felt called to do a podcast earlier this year. Um, I launched it in like May, June timeframe. And so we did one season. I wanted to just kind of test it out. Like, I wanted to see, do I like podcasting? Do I like speaking? To be honest, I'm much more of a writer. I was an English major. I love reading. I love writing. And so being online and being able to type Instagram captions and blog and all of those things is way more up my alley. But I will say I was just feeling like my community needed more long form discussion from me and like something that an Instagram 15-second reel couldn't really provide. And so I did it, and we talk a lot about food freedom. We talk about specifics around anxiety, OCD, like mental health stuff, PTSD, all of that stuff. And I think the purpose there really is just to show people, it's called Keep Growing Podcast, that the healing journey isn't really a destination. It really is about continuing to grow into who you're meant to be. So I think we all have this idea of this is what healed looks like. And I'm trying to reframe that and show people like this is what healing looks like. This is just what life looks like and growth. You know, we don't have to reach a destination. We just have to continue to try to do our best and give ourselves a lot of grace along the way. And so that's what that podcast is about. And it's been really good. So we are going to do a season 2 next year, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think you recently posted like it's this time of year you recently posted about your rap. It sounds like people are really responding to it.
So we have like 10 to 12 episodes, I think, and we got like hundreds of thousands of listening minutes or whatever. And I was like, it was really cool. And honestly, the podcast is kind of making me feel more fulfilled than Instagram content making is right now. So that's been a really cool outlet as well. And just another, like, I love learning. And so the podcast community is so distinct from the social media community. And so I've really enjoyed just learning more about podcasting in general too. It's been really cool.
Yeah, it's certainly you say we, so or do you have a team around you? I mean, obviously I've been doing this podcast for a long time. It was my COVID project, so for 5 years now, and the we is what keeps this going. Because when I was the first few years when I was doing it on my own, it would be over by now. I need to just do this and then have somebody else edit and create those, the descriptions, because I am not the writer. So having other people help is definitely, I think, key to doing something long term.
Yeah. So I did, luckily, before the podcast came out, I decided to sign with an agency. I'm kind of shifting gears for next year. I really want to kind of honestly take the control back into myself. I like the editing and the writing and the content making. So I think what I'm going to try next year is really just kind of make it my own thing and see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well. If I get overwhelmed, I can go back to agency stuff. But yeah, it was nice this year just as a starting off point to have that extra support and guidance. And I had no idea what I was doing. So it was helpful to know in general kind of what was needed to create this thing and help it come to fruition.
Yeah, well, I think with just one season, you got a lot of room to grow it for sure, and I think that you'll find what works best for you. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that side of being able to just completely control it myself, and I didn't like when I was completely handing it off to somebody else, with the agency type stuff. So I've kind of found that
Yeah.
middle ground where I still have complete control, where I've hired my own people, and not necessarily an agency, just the people who work for me to edit it. So that makes it a little bit easier to say, hey, that's we're going to change that. So that makes it a little
Yeah.
easier for sure.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I guess kind of you, I mean, you mentioned that you're going to do another season, but for those who are listening because they're just consuming all things Tori Payton, and they're just excited for that next season, when should they expect something like that?
Yeah, so we are going to start in January. I don't have a specific date yet, but I am thinking probably the first week of January. Just start the new year off strong, talking about mental health. I think it's going to be really cool because my husband's going to be helping me this year too with just like setting up the pod and running the pod. He'll be behind the scenes, but it's going to be a fun kind of like husband wife thing that we're doing too. So maybe I'll share some behind the scenes stuff, but yeah, definitely look out for a new pod studio. We're going to launch a YouTube. We did not have a YouTube last year. We started one and then I was like, I don't want to, I'm not ready for YouTube yet. So we are going to do the visuals with YouTube next year. And just try to get more involved, like create more community. So we're doing a mental health Bible study on the Keep Growing page. We're going to create a TikTok for Keep Growing. I really want it to be very service led. So it's like if you guys want something, let me know and we will give it to you. Like we will talk about the things you want to talk about, the deep stuff, the stuff no one wants to speak about. And yeah, we'll make it non-shame based. It'll all be good. So that's what you can look forward to.
I love it. And you already just very recently introduced a totally new thing with the podcast. So I know that you're continuing to look at new ways to grow and to serve others. So where do you hope this all takes you in the long run? You're also going to school, so you obviously you've got plans for the future. And what are those plans?
Yeah, so honestly, what I would love to do is eventually I really want to do nonprofit work. So I would love to establish my own nonprofit where we can talk about mental health things specifically in like a faith-based context, but just kind of destigmatize mental health specifically for the Christian community. Like we talked about, there's so much over spiritualization, there's so much, pray and God will fix it, and there's so much just miseducation. And what I really want to work on is just reaching those people, reaching all people, and just letting them know like the intersection between faith and mental health is supposed to be a very inclusive, loving, let's get better together space. And I think if we can shift that from judgment towards just positivity and community and helping each other, the world's going to be a lot better of a place. So that's kind of my long-term goal is I would hope in, after I get my degree to be able to lead my own nonprofit. That's my goal.
That's an amazing goal for sure. How can people, that aren't just listening because they are trying to consume all things Tory, that are new to you, how can they follow along?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Grow with Tori on Instagram. I'm also Grow with Tori on TikTok. Need to post a little bit more there, but TikTok's not really my thing, to be honest. You can also follow us at Keep Growing Pod on Instagram and look out for Keep Growing Pod on YouTube and TikTok next year.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This was awesome, Jackson.
So that was Tori Payton. Great conversation. Really appreciate her time. Urge you to check out all of her social media. All the links to that will be in the show notes. Go check out her podcast. It's a relatively new podcast. I think, like she said, it just finished its first season, and more to come there. But if you're wanting to learn just a little bit more about her, a little bit more about, I guess, the work that she's doing to help others, great listen for sure. Yeah, I really appreciate her coming on. It's a different world. The work that she's doing is a little bit different than the other influencers I've spoken to before that are teaching you where to travel or the best fitness routines. This is mentally how to, I guess, how to improve upon your mental health, and that's very important for sure. So I appreciate the work she's doing. Like I said in the beginning, if this is your first time listening or you haven't already, go follow along on Instagram, on TikTok. Follow along, of course, on Apple or Spotify. Leave that 5-star rating. Leave a written review. Always helps a ton. But we'll see you next time. Take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.